Panda 4 is the newest installment in the Kung Fu Panda franchise. This one once again returning the cast of Jack Black, Dustin Hoffman, Bryan Cranston, among others as well. In this movie, Po has basically taken up the mantle as a new Master Oogway, as this new, I guess you could say, advisor, spiritual overseer, something like that. And now, because of that, he now has to find his successor to be the new Dragon Warrior. He crosses paths with this fox, who he sees some potential in, this fox voiced by Awkwafina. All while this is going on, there's a new villain out there known as the Chameleon that has the ability to transform into really any Kung Fu master, and eventually learns to develop the ability to take the abilities of these Kung Fu masters, thus making her the most powerful adversary in the village, or in the land. Whoever works better. The Kung Fu Panda trilogy is probably one of the most underrated movie trilogies ever. I fucking love those movies. The animation is great, the voice acting across the board is fantastic, especially Jack Black as Po. I mean, he owns that character. He's the perfect voice for a character like that. The character development that they did with Po throughout that trilogy was really amazing. It made him this great Kung Fu master without losing sight of how silly and clumsy and just lovable he is as a character. Had unbelievable villains and had great Kung Fu action. What else could you ask for? Well, to my knowledge, I didn't know we were asking for a fourth Kung Fu Panda movie. It has admittedly been a while. It's been almost 10 years since we got a Kung Fu Panda movie, so I was a little bit surprised that we were getting a fourth one. And now that I've seen the fourth Kung Fu Panda movie, does it have its enjoyment? Yes. But was it necessary? Well, I'm not so sure. Get into the positives of this movie. Okay, once again, Jack Black as Po. He's great. You can hear it in his voice acting. He has fun with this character. He loves this character. And Po's still a very great lead character here. He's funny. He's kind of simple. He's kind of clumsy. But what I always have appreciated with him that they did with his development is, you know, he's still clumsy and does some really weird, childish, silly things. But we've always seen him improve as this Kung Fu master. And basically seeing him here as the master of the spirit world, it seems odd, doesn't seem like the fitting for him, but it did work. Also, I thought the Chameleon voiced by Viola Davis was a really good villain. I like the idea of a chameleon that can just transform into these different Kung Fu masters and learn their abilities. I think that's perfect for a role like this. It allows you to bring back older villains that people knew and love, and it allows you to create this force that Po has to take on that has all the abilities essentially of the ones he's defeated before. It's good for nostalgia, it's good for anniversary, and it's good for some great Kung Fu action. And I will say, this movie once again has a lot of fun Kung Fu action in it. Especially now where we have reached a point where Po has become this really experienced master, this experienced Kung Fu fighter. It really makes for some fun times. Another dynamic that I will give a lot of credit to as well, that I was not expecting to enjoy, was the dynamic between Po's dads in this movie. Because, you know, in Kung Fu Panda 3, you know, the two of them kind of reach this understanding. It's like, you know, one's the biological father, one's the adoptive father, but they're both still Po's dad. And this one, they develop a really fun dynamic between the two of them, where, you know, they're these really just caring, possibly overly worried fathers about Po when he's going on these adventures. Leads to the two of them getting into shenanigans together, and it makes for some funny moments. Getting to the things that I wasn't a big fan of this movie, I will say as much. Awkwafina, I remember seeing her for the very first time in Crazy Rich Asians, and I thought she was fucking hilarious. And I was like, I need to see her in more stuff, put her in more stuff, and to her credit, she's still funny. However, I gotta say, at this point, I'm starting to think Awkwafina is basically the female version of Kevin Hart. This really funny actor that essentially just plays the exact same character in every movie. And that's basically what she is here as this fox character that becomes Po's protege here. I mean, she's sarcastic, she's snarky, she has this mentality like, oh, I know everything, but I don't really know everything. Like, she has that vulnerability to herself that she doesn't really want to show. I can say, when you see that kind of character over and over and over again in a movie, you know, it can get a little bit stale, and that's kind of where I'm at with Awkwafina and the characters she's been playing. So as a result, did she and Po have solid chemistry? Yes, but I've seen them have better chemistry with other characters in other movies, and at the same time, I didn't really get quite on board with her character as much as I was hoping I would. Also, what's really disappointing is the Furious Five aren't really in this movie at all, and that's really disappointing. I love the Furious Five. My guess is, you know, their voice actors just kind of decided, yeah, you know, we kind of thought this was done at 3, so we've just gone off to pursue other projects, so we didn't come back. So the movie instead tries to replace them with a bunch of different characters, like Awkwafina's character and other characters that Po meets in this other village, but none of them are anywhere near as memorable as the Furious 5. None of them are as badass, none of them really stand out, none of them have like their own unique personalities that you really walk away from saying that character was great. It was all just a bunch of silly little comic relief that frankly wasn't as effective as I thought it would be. Ultimately, I think that's the big thing I would take away from here. Kung Fu Panda 4 is absolutely a kid's movie. The previous 3 Kung Fu Pandas, you could argue those are family movies. Those are movies that you can go with, you know, the kids, the mom, the dad, everyone can go and have a fun time with. This is one that's definitely geared more towards children. This is kind of one that parents are going to go into and it's just not going to hit as well with them. They're kind of going to be sitting there like, all right, look, we did this for the kids. I do think that's what's kind of disappointing about this movie. I mean, you know, I've been a fan of this franchise since the first one, and the fact that I walked out of this movie thinking that it wasn't really made for me kind of makes me feel like the movie just shifted away an audience that initially fell in love with it and shifted to one that I guess they're trying to bring into now. Because I don't know, I suppose my idea would be, I guess eventually like Poe's just gonna completely pass down the mantle to Aquafina's character and that'll just be it with him or something like that, then it won't even be Kung Fu Panda anymore. I don't know. I mean, even with Poe and his character development in this movie, I mean, in the previous ones, you know, he always learned more about what it meant to be a Kung Fu master. By the end of it, he had mastered an ability that he was working on the entire movie. Here, I didn't really feel like he was learning to really be something. I mean, he wasn't really learning to master a certain ability that's going to help him take down the big baddie. I don't know, I felt like the movie did kind of detract from Poe a little bit to give another character that no one really cared too much about a little more shine. So all in all, Kung Fu Panda 4, it had potential, but it didn't quite hit the landing for me. Has some fun kung fu action. It's still animated very, very well. I still love Jack Black in the role as Poe. It once again had a solid villain. The old characters that were brought back, I enjoyed seeing them again. The newer characters that were brought in, I wish I got a little bit more on board with. A lot of the humor didn't really hit with me. I felt they could have done a lot better with character development. And in the end, for a franchise that has crushed it so hard as a family movie franchise, this one just feels way more like a kid's movie. And as a result of that, I do walk out of this movie feeling like it wasn't made for me, and also ultimately wondering if a 4th Kung Fu Panda needed to be made. They have said this is meant to be the start of a new trilogy, or at least new Kung Fu Panda movies, so I guess depending on how successful it is, I don't know, we'll see how that turns out. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.